If you own shares, ETFs, or an investment property outside Super B and you've been quietly counting on the 50% capital gains tax discount, I've got bad news. That discount is being abolished. From the 1st of July 2027, the half-off deal that investors have relied on for decades gets replaced. And almost nobody outside the tax world is talking about what it actually does to your gains. This hits every individual, trust, and partnership holding a capital gains asset outside Super. That's shares, ETFs, managed funds, and property. So today we're doing 3 moves. Audit your unrealised gains and your sell timing. Check whether Super or different structures cut your exposure, and verify which of your properties keep the old discount. 3 moves, and you'll know exactly where you stand before the window closes. Here's the number that should make you sit up. A $200,000 gain on an ETF, held 10 years, is taxed today on just $100,000 thanks to the 50% discount. After the change, with inflation indexation, that taxable gain jumps to around $154,000. StockSpot 2026, Treasury Budget 2026-27. But here's the part nobody tells you. For most share and ETF investors, indexation is actually less generous than the old discount. 3 moves. Audit your gains and timing. Check Super and structures, verify your property options. Each one's free and each takes under 20 minutes. So what's actually changing right now? If you hold a capital gains asset, shares, ETFs, or property for more than 12 months, you generally pay tax on only 50% of the gain. From the 1st of July 2027, the ATO, the Australian Taxation Office, replaces that 50% discount with cost-based indexation and a 30% minimum tax rate on capital gains. Indexation means your purchase price is lifted by inflation, so you only pay tax on the real gain, not the half-off gain you're used to. Let's see what that does in dollars. Take an investor on the top 45% rate who buys an ETF for $100,000, holds 10 years, and sells for $300,000. Today, the 50% discount makes $100,000 taxable. That's about $45,000 in tax. After 2027, with 4% inflation, indexation only lifts the cost base to about $148,000, leaving roughly $152,000 taxable, around $68,000 in tax, StockSpot 2026. That's about $23,000 more on the same gain. Now the second layer, and this one's sneaky. Treasury confirms the new rules only apply to gains that accrue from the 1st of July 2027. Treasury Budget 2026-27. If you hold an asset across that date, your gain gets split. The part before keeps the 50% discount, the part after faces indexation, but the real trap is the 30% minimum floor. Even if your income is low and your marginal rate falls below 30%, your capital gains are still taxed at a minimum of 30%, ATO 2026. So this becomes a timing dilemma. Picture a $500,000 portfolio bought for $250,000, a $250,000 gain. Sell before July 2027 and the 50% discount makes $125,000 taxable. Roughly $48,750 in tax at 39%, StockSpot 2026. Hold past 2027 on a high-growth portfolio, and even after indexation, the 30% floor can cost you tens of thousands more. The window to lock in the old discount closes on the 30th of June 2027. Now, the myth that's leaving people exposed: people think this only affects property investors because all the headlines were about negative gearing and housing. The fact? It applies to all capital gains assets. Law firm analysis confirms shares, ETFs, and managed funds are squarely captured. Baker McKenzie 2026. If you've got a brokerage account, this is your problem too. Put it together. On just one $200,000 ETF gain, the loss of the discount adds around $23,000 in tax, StockSpot 2026. Across a full investing life, shares and property combined, one investor could plausibly pay around $120,000 more in capital gains tax, authors estimate. The discount disappearing, plus that 30% floor, compounds into serious money. Let me make this real. Meet Sarah. She's 42. A senior marketing manager earning $180,000 a year, putting her on the top 45% rate. Outside super, she holds $220,000 in ETFs. Bought for $120,000 plus an investment apartment bought in 2015 for $600,000, now worth $900,000. She's got 23 years to her retirement target. Here's what Sarah found. Discovery 1. Her ETFs. Selling today, Sarah pays tax on 50% of her $100,000 gain, $50,000 taxable, about $22,500 in tax, stock spot 2026. But if she waits and her gain grows to $200,000, indexation might only lift her cost base by $30,000 to $40,000, leaving roughly $160,000 taxable, about $72,000 or more in tax. That's an extra $50,000 plus she never planned for on her ETFs alone. Discovery 2, her apartment. Because Sarah bought it well before the negative gearing cutoff, she's grandfathered from those limits. But, and this surprised her, she's not exempt from the CGT reform, Baker McKenzie 2026. If her apartment climbs from $900,000 to $1.2 million, that's a $300,000 gain. Indexation might strip out $50,000 to $70,000 of inflation, leaving a real gain of well over $200,000, all taxed at a minimum 30%, around $69,000 or more in CGT. Discovery 3, the one that stung most. Sarah assumed that if she worked part-time later in life on a lower income, her CGT rate would just follow her marginal rate. Wrong. With the 30% minimum, a future $100,000 real gain in a year where her marginal rate dropped to 21% would still cost her $30,000 in tax, instead of $10,500 today. ATO 2026, Treasury 2026 to 27, nearly 3 times higher. Add it all up across Sarah's remaining investing life, her ETFs growing toward $500,000, her property toward $1.4 million. And the combined hit from losing the discount and facing the 30% floor plausibly adds around $100,000 in extra capital gains tax, author's estimate, Treasury 2026 to 27. That's the order of magnitude. Money she'd built her whole plan around. So could this be you? 3 signs. 1, you hold shares, ETFs, or property outside super. 2, you don't actually know the unrealized gains sitting on each of your assets. 3, you've never compared selling before versus after July 2027. If any of those ring true, the next 3 moves are exactly what you need. 3 moves, let's do them. Move 1, audit your unrealized gains and your timing. Go to MyGov, open ATO online and download your capital gains tax summary and transaction history. For every asset, shares, ETFs, property, work out the gain. Market value minus your cost base. Then model 2 scenarios, selling now under the 50% discount versus selling after July 2027 under indexation and the 30% floor. This is general information, not personal advice. 3 quick steps. 1, log into MyGov. Open ATO online, download your CGT summary. 2, list each asset's market value minus its cost base. 3, run the sell now versus sell after 2027 numbers using the ATO calculators. Good looks like this. In dollars, exactly what waiting past 2027 cost you. Move 2, check whether super or different structures change your exposure. Capital gains inside superannuation are typically taxed at 15% or less, versus the 30% plus effective rate you'll face on assets held in your own name under the new rules. Log into your fund, look at your growth asset split and use the government's Your Super comparison tool to make sure your fund isn't dragging you down on fees and performance. 3 steps. 1, download your super investment mix and growth asset split. 2, compare the 15% in super CGT against 30% plus outside under the new regime. 3, use your super to confirm your fund is competitive. Good looks like most of your long-term growth sitting in a 15% taxed environment. Move 3, verify whether any property is a new build. From 2027, only investors in new builds can choose to keep the old 50% discount instead of the indexation plus minimum tax framework. Pull your contract dates and completion certificates and cross-check against ATO guidance to see which of your properties, current or planned, still qualify for that choice. 3 steps. 1, Pull the contract dates and completion certificates for each property. 2. Cross-check them against ATO new build and CGT reform guidance. 3. Flag clearly whether the 50% discount choice is available to you. Good looks like knowing which properties keep the discount and which don't. Why now? Because the clock's already running. In 2026, the budget announced negative gearing limits from 7:30 p.m. on the 12th of May, ATO 2026. On the 1st of July 2027, the 50% CGT discount is abolished and replaced. Treasury Budget 2026-27. And from that date, transitional rules mean only gains accruing after July 2027 hit the new regime. So the value of your asset on that day matters, ATO 2026. It's not law yet, but the start date is set. The time to model your options is now. After you act, check it worked. You should see a clear dollar figure for the unrealised gain on every asset. Confirm whether selling before July 2027 clearly saves you 5 figures. And if a property is a new build, confirm that discount choice in writing. Questions? Drop them in the comments. Drop them. Everything here comes from the ATO, Treasury's 2026 budget papers, stock spots analysis, and Baker McKenzie. All the links are below. You now know the 50% discount is ending and how to model your shares, ETFs, and property. Next week, negative gearing. Who's grandfathered and who pays more? If this saved you from a nasty tax surprise, subscribe. We read the fine print so you don't have to.